Today I'm going to be reviewing a pair of Polk Monitor XT20 bookshelf speakers. The Monitor XT20 is one of the most affordable pairs of speakers from Polk, but how do they sound? In this video, I'll give you my listening impressions and if they're worth the $300 price tag. So let's get started. Before I start this review video, I wanted to give a shout out to Audio Mania. I really appreciate the super thanks donation that I received from him. It's people like him that keep this channel going. Any donations that I receive will be put towards the purchase of speakers and subwoofers that my subscribers would like to see on this channel. Thanks again, Audio Mania. Your support and donation is much appreciated. The Monitor XT line from Polk is a fairly new line of speakers that is geared towards people who want a decent sound at an affordable price. I'm not going to go into too much detail about how these speakers are made and their specifications because I covered all that in my Look Inside video. In my Look Inside videos, I go over the cabinet construction of the speakers, the TS parameters of the drivers, and the crossover components. If that stuff interests you, then check out my Look Inside video on these speakers. I'll leave a link in the description. These speakers have a fairly small footprint in them for being bookshelves with 6.5-inch drivers in them. These speakers measure just over 7.5 inches in width, height is a tad over 13 inches, and depth is just over 11 inches. Construction quality is pretty typical for what you find at this price point. The front baffle is using 5/8 inch thick MDF, and the rear cabinet wall is made from 1/2 inch thick MDF. I assume the side walls are also using 1/2 inch MDF as well. Polk has included a pretty nice 6.5-inch driver for the XT20 that I talk about in great detail in my Look Inside video. This driver measured pretty well on my bench and the motor structure is pretty large considering how affordable these speakers are. The tweeter is 1 inch in size and is made from terylene, which is derived from polyester. Polyester is a kind of plastic that is derived from petroleum. All in all, not a bad little package for $300. So what do you get for your $300 from Polk Audio? Well, you get two Monitor XT20 speakers. These are the bookshelf models that have a 6.5-inch driver and a 1-inch soft dome tweeter. You get an owner's manual here, if Peaches will move out of the way. And it's well written, has all the pertinent information like how to connect the speakers. They give you tips on positioning the speakers. They give you specifications and also information about the 5-year limited warranty. Polk has also included some rubber mounting feet for the bottom of the speakers. So if you want to install these rubber mounting feet, you can. And one of the things I like most about these speakers is actually the grill fabric. I think it complements the finish on the cabinets really well. I really like the black and gray, but they are a bit cheap. I mean, these are $300 speakers, so the grills are made from plastic. They are pretty flimsy, but they seem pretty durable. Like I've been kind of treating them a little rough here and there to see if any of them would crack or break, and so far nothing. So good job there, Polk. And then as for packaging, they are not double boxed, but it is a pretty heavy duty box and they do come well packaged. Mine were wrapped in styrofoam, the soft styrofoam, and then also individually wrapped in plastic. And right there's the big styrofoam packaging that keeps everything in its spot during shipping. So that's what you get from Polk Audio. So how do these things sound? Let's find out. So how do these speakers sound? I'm going to break this review up into two parts. Sound quality during movies and sound quality during music. I first set up the speakers in my living room, which is part of an open floor plan design, meaning the kitchen, dining room, and living room are all open to each other. This room is almost 1,000 square feet in size and it can be challenging for some bookshelf speakers to fill this room with adequate sound. The electronics in this room consist of a Rotel RSP1580 processor, and a Rotel RMB 1575 amplifier. The subwoofer I'll be pairing these speakers with is a modified JBL 550p subwoofer that is utilizing a CSS SDX10 driver. If you'd like to know more about this subwoofer, then please check out my upgrade video series on the JBL 550p. I'll leave a link in the description. For my movie testing, I'll be configuring the processor for a 2.1 configuration, meaning only the Polk speakers and my JBL subwoofer will be playing. I'm not utilizing a center channel for this movie testing because I want to see how well these speakers perform with dialogue from actors and actresses. Other settings for the processor include setting the speakers to size small and configuring the crossover for the subwoofer to 80 Hz. It's time to fire up the Oppo 4K Blu-ray player and stick in one of my favorite movies to test speakers out with. War of the Worlds starring Tom Cruise. The main reason why I like to use this movie to demo speakers with is because it contains plenty of action scenes, great sound effects, and dialogue from a variety of actors and actresses. In my opinion, you really get the full spectrum of sound with this movie. The first thing I noticed about the Monitor XT20s during my movie watching sessions is just how well these speakers disappear into the room. Considering how affordable these speakers are, I also thought they did a pretty good job at projecting a decent sized soundstage for their size. These speakers also did a pretty good job at projecting dialogue from actors and actresses. Their voices sounded clear and natural. One of the problems I have with affordable bookshelves is sometimes the voices can be hard to hear unless you have the volume cranked up pretty good. Thankfully, I didn't have that issue with the Polks. In my opinion, the Monitor XT20 sounded like it was on the brighter side of neutral. During my movie watching sessions, I didn't think the speakers sounded overly bright or were they fatiguing to listen to. They also did a pretty decent job at projecting sound off-axis. You want good off-axis performance from a speaker when everyone in your room can't sit directly in front of the speakers. Purchasing speakers with good off-axis performance will ensure that the people sitting in the cheap seats will have almost as good sound quality as the people sitting in the prime seating locations. Some of the things I really like about the XT20 is its mid-range driver. In my opinion, Polk is using a pretty decent mid-range driver for such an affordable speaker. I thought the mid-range driver performed really well during my movie watching sessions. The mid-bass notes sounded natural and detailed for this price point. No doubt this is one of the better mid-range drivers that I have listened to at this price point. As for the tweeter, I thought it performed okay. It isn't the best that I have heard at this price point, or is it the worst either. In my opinion, I thought the tweeter sounded a bit two-dimensional and could be a bit harsh at louder volumes. Earlier this month, I reviewed a pair of Cerwin-Vega LA165s, and you are probably wondering, how do these Polks compare to them? Again, this is my subjective opinion, but I thought the tweeter on the Cerwin-Vega LA165s were quite a bit better than the tweeter on the Polks. But I also felt that the mid-range driver from the XT20 is a little nicer than the mid-range driver from the Cerwin-Vegas. It really boils down to what you, the buyer, prefers. This is why it's so important to do your own listening tests, because what may sound good to me may not sound so good to you. Don't get me wrong, for $300, I think Polk designed a very respectable speaker for this category. Here's a quick sound demo of the XT20s using War of the Worlds. So what did you think of that sound demo? Not bad for a set of $300 speakers. I think most people shopping in this price category are either deciding between a soundbar or a set of speakers and an AVR combo. If you're one of those shoppers, then I feel confident in saying that the Polks will sound better than the majority of the soundbars out there on the market. I own a Bowers & Wilkins Panorama 1 soundbar that retailed for $2,200, and it was supposed to be one of the best back in the day. But I still prefer my Polk speakers over my expensive soundbar. It's my opinion that soundbars are built for convenience, and it's hard to get a large soundstage from a small enclosure with tiny drivers in it. Initiating woofer excursion test in 3 seconds. During my music listening sessions, the thing that stuck out most about these speakers is their bass performance. I was impressed by the level of bass authority that these speakers projected in small to medium sized rooms, considering how affordable they are. If you have a small to medium sized room that you would like to fill with music without breaking the bank, then the XT20 is definitely a speaker you want to have a listen to. In my opinion, the bass performance was on par with the Cerwin-Vega LA165s that I tested last month. I'm a big fan of 70s, 80s, and 90s music. I like everything from classic rock to 90s grunge, and I thought these speakers did a pretty good job of reproducing some of my favorite songs. When placing the speakers in a small to medium sized room, the bass notes were strong and were able to fill my room with bass reasonably well. However, some of the bass notes can sound a bit one-notish at times, meaning that the difference between an explosion and a bass guitar will sound very similar. That's the downfall with some of these budget speakers that have a high total box speaker queue. This isn't a Polk thing either, because all of the budget speakers that I have tested so far all have high total box speaker queue, probably because they are very cheap to make. As for the tweeter in the XT20, I thought it sounded a bit two-dimensional to me, and didn't quite have the lively sound that I prefer. But it's hard to be too overly critical on speakers that are so affordable. I think it's a reasonable assumption to make that when you're shopping in this price category that there will be some concessions in performance. And the biggest concession to me with the XT20 is the tweeter. I also felt that the tweeter sounded a bit harsh during my louder listening sessions, especially with songs that use percussion instruments or had female singers. Again, this is my subjective opinion, and I urge everyone who is serious about these speakers to give them a try. Polk offers one of the best in-home trials in the industry, which is 60 days. After those 60 days, if you're not satisfied, you can return them for a full refund. I think that speaks volumes in how confident Polk is in their products, which is very nice to see. The Polk Monitor XT20 utilizes a typical square box cabinet design with a rear-facing port. One of my favorite aspects of these speakers is the finish on the cabinets. This finish reminds me a lot of the spray coatings that are applied to truck beds to enhance their durability. In my opinion, the finish has a very industrial look to it that is not only pleasing to the eye, but is also very durable and scratch resistant. Well, we're at that part in the review where we do the sound comparisons. Today, I'm going to be comparing my Cerwin-Vega LA165s to the Polk Monitor XT20s. The Polks are about $30 more, but they're still basically in that same price category. Everything will be connected to my Macintosh gear. I'll be using a Macintosh MC402 power amplifier and a Macintosh MX121 processor. They'll be configured in a 2.0 configuration, meaning that the speakers will be set to large and the subwoofer is turned off. So far, you guys have told me that these sound comparison videos are very helpful. So unless you guys tell me something different, I will continue to include them in the review videos. So let's get started. I enjoyed my time with the Polk Monitor XT20. Like most budget speakers, they are not perfect, but that's to be expected at this price point. In my opinion, the XT20 does a pretty good job at what it was designed to do, which is to offer good sound at an affordable price. What I like most about these speakers is their industrial look, the durable finish on the cabinet, and the mid-range driver. Looks are a very subjective topic, but to me, I thought the XT20s looked really nice, and the truck bed-like finish on the cabinet is also extremely durable and scratch resistant. Also, Polk put a pretty nice mid-range driver in the XT20, which can be improved even more by adding more stuffing inside the cabinet. In my look inside video, I added an additional 92 grams of stuffing to the cabinet and saw a pretty nice improvement in quality factor and bass response. Quality factor went from 1.326 down to 1.082, and port tuning went from 49 Hz down to 46 Hz. Not a bad improvement from a $25 bag of polyfill. I think the Polk Monitor XT20s are perfect for someone who is just starting out in this hobby and want to get their feet wet. At the sale price, the XT20s are hard to beat. Sure, they have some shortcomings, but overall, it's a pretty nice affordable package that is sure to put smiles on people's faces. And that's my look inside video on the Polk Monitor XT20. Hopefully this video will give you an idea what to expect from these speakers. If you own a pair of these speakers, let me know what you think of them by commenting down below. So long, and happy listening.